Yo, YouTube, what's crackalacka jack is smacking? It's Wolfman for video, and a new game that has just come out for the PlayStation 4, an exclusive PlayStation 4 game, was inFamous Second Son. Came out on Friday, made by Sucker Punch, and this game, I've seen a couple of my friends playing it. You know, it's a game that a lot of people have been looking forward to, and it's one of the first games that is a new game for the platform, for the PS4. Now we all know that Titanfall just came out for the Xbox One and the PC, but you know, this is really going to be one of the first games to come out for these next gen systems, and you know, it leaves a pretty good impression. That's what I'm going to say right now. But what I wanted to talk about is about inFamous Second Son's length and the content that's in the game itself. So the discussion is whether this game is worth $60 or not. And you know, next gen games, most of them are going to be $60, at least for this generation. But before this generation started, there were talks that the next gen games were going to be costing even more than $60, which, you know, a lot of people said that would be outrageous, and I also agreed that that would be a little bit too much. Even a $10 increase would be a little bit too much. I mean, $70 for a game, that's just too much money right there. And back in the PS2 and the Xbox days, games used to be costing at most $50. And I thought that was a good price for games, because $50, it's not too much, you know, and I think it sets the right price. If a game gives a good enough content, then it should be at least $40 or, you know, at most $50. But that was in the PS2 days. So now these days games cost $60, and that's why I haven't really bought in a single player game for $60. Now I have bought in games where I've never touched the multiplayer, such as Tomb Raider and Max Payne 3, but those games at least had multiplayer. At least had some type of multiplayer where maybe I could try for like 10 minutes to see if I actually like the multiplayer. And I did play a couple of matches, but I just didn't like Tomb Raider's multiplayer. You know, multiplayer just wasn't made for Tomb Raider, and even Max Payne 3. Those games were focused more on the single player, and I have no problem with that. And I bought those games knowing that the single player was the main focus and not the multiplayer. And then we have the games like Uncharted, where the single player is the focus, but the game also has good multiplayer. And that was also said to be with The Last of Us, which is also a game made by the people who made Uncharted, Naughty Dog. So Naughty Dog is a great company, you know. But let's get on to the question whether inFamous Second Son is worth $60. Now, to me, when I buy a game, you know, I don't have a job and I don't, you know, make any sort of I don't make a lot of money in a short span of time. So when I purchase a game, I want the complete value of that game. I want to be getting the bang for my buck. And, you know, a complete packaged game would be something like Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that has a solid single player, great multiplayer, you know, good multiplayer. I wouldn't say great multiplayer, I'd say good multiplayer. And something you could see yourself playing for the next few months. Something that you could play with your friends, something that a lot of people have. So Grand Theft Auto is a complete package, and so was Red Dead Redemption, because that game's multiplayer was amazing to me, and also the single player was a solid single player experience. Now that could also be said for games like Call of Duty, even though Call of Duty single player isn't the focus. The focus is more on the multiplayer, and the co-op in Call of Duty Ghosts, which is the recent Call of Duty, is nothing to brag about. But you know, since it's a multiplayer first experience, you'll probably have way more. You'll probably be putting in way more time, much more time in it than, let's say, a single player game that's around 8 to 9 hours, 8 to 10 hours even. So inFamous Second Son, first thing you need to know about this game is there is no multiplayer. That's the first thing. So you already know that if the single player isn't that long, there's not going to be anything to keep you coming back, because there's no multiplayer in this game. And there's nothing that ties into multiplayer or any online experience, for that matter of fact. Now the second thing you need to know is that the downloadable content, Cole's Legacy, is only available if you have the collector's edition of the game. So I thought that downloadable content was free, but it turns out if you don't have the collector's edition, then you won't be able to play it. So I was like, wow, I beat the game and you know, I had nothing to no story after that. The third thing you need to know about this, and this pertains mainly to me, is I bought the game on Friday, and on Friday I think I spent around 3 hours and 30 minutes playing the game, and then I went to sleep, and then Saturday I started playing the game at 11 o'clock I think, or 10:30, and by the time it was 3 o'clock, 3:30, and let me just say this too, that I was playing it on and off, meaning I was taking a couple of breaks in between. By 3:30 I was completely done with the game, and this was, I didn't completely do every side mission there was in the game, but I did a couple of the side missions that were there. And you don't even need to do the side missions to complete the game, and I wouldn't even call them side missions, because all these side missions are not really missions, they're just objectives to do, you know, collectibles, you know, just clearing out districts that's the only thing there is to do. But other than that, I'd say this game took me like maybe 7 to 10 hours. I don't even think I played 10 hours, because I played 3 hours and 30 minutes on Friday, and 11 o'clock to 3:30, that's like 12, 1, 2, 3. So I guess I beat the game in like 8 to 9 hours. So as I'm speaking to you right now, I did play the game a little bit more this morning to see what I could do, and after you complete the game, there's not really much to do. Unless you want to finish all the districts and completing them and clearing them, there's almost absolutely nothing to do in this game. At least for me, there's almost nothing. So this game, to me, is definitely not worth $60. Comparing it to games like Grand Theft Auto 5 that have a complete package. Now that's not saying the game is a bad game. This game is, you know, this game is a great game to me. If it wasn't for the price tag of $60, then this game, and it's still a great game anyways, but this game is a great game, and I'm going to be reviewing this game soon. But this game is just not worth $60, and there's a lot of games that won't be worth $60 this year. Mainly because they're single player games, and you know, the length and the content that's in the game itself just doesn't add up to the value of $60. So Watch Dogs is probably going to be the next game I'm going to get, and that game seems like it might be worth $60 because it does look like it's going to have solid single player. It does have multiplayer in it, and I think it's competitive and co-op multiplayer. So Watch Dogs is going to be an interesting game, and not only that, but the single player is actually probably going to be, most likely going to be longer than inFamous' single player by like maybe even twice the amount inFamous is. So inFamous Second Son is a great game, but it's just not worth $60. You don't get that bang for your buck you will get for most games like Grand Theft Auto 5, and maybe even, you know, games like Call of Duty and Uncharted. Not saying Call of Duty is a good game, but when you think about the whole package and all that, then that's where you see, you know, where your money's going to. And that's why a lot of these games are including multiplayer games, because there are a lot of people like me that don't buy single player only games, and this is the first single player only game I've bought, to be honest. So anyways, YouTube, that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts and I'm out. Peace.